What's going on, everybody? It's Scotty here with Flat Track Flashback, and the finale of the 2025 Progressive American Flat Track season is upon us. It seems like just yesterday that we were getting all excited to see what happened down there in Daytona Bike Week, and now 15 rounds later, here we are, second week of September, and the series comes to a close at Lake Ozark Speedway there in Eldon, Missouri, same place the finale was held last year. And while we do have a title fight still up for grabs in the Super Twins class, I think a lot of us kind of feel like it is almost all but decided, but we're going to go over a couple of scenarios and things to watch as you head into the series finale, and also preview a couple other events that are going on this weekend, because there is a full slate of not just flat track racing, but other stuff going on around the country and around the globe. So there's going to be a lot to talk about in next week's episode. It's going to be another one of those long-winded things where you got to look at my face for way too long, but we're going to try to keep it a little more abbreviated this week and dive into a quick little preview for Ozark. And then, yeah, you guys get to enjoy the finale of the season. So here we go. Super Twins Championship is still technically up for grabs. Briar Bauman is 13 points adrift of Dallas Daniels coming into this finale, but it feels it's just a shame that it's not a winner-take-all situation. It kind of feels sort of how the final day of the 2023 season felt, where Jared Meese had such a strong opening day there in Springfield and really put a gap between himself and Dallas Daniels in that championship battle. And felt like Jared just had to kind of bring it home that year. And then last year, Jared had such a strong lead over Brandon Robinson coming into the final round that just had to bring it home. Maybe Dallas is going to come into this race and want to prove a point. And while it's not winner take all, amidst all the noise that has gone on regarding the scenario at Springfield, he might want to just go ahead and win it outright and put all that to rest. Dallas has won on a couple of short tracks this year. He, did triumph there in Daytona to start the year and has been very formidable. And while Briar Bauman has sort of had his number for most of the season on these types of tracks, you definitely aren't going to just count Dallas out. But as we look at a couple of the title scenarios coming into this weekend, basically Dallas Daniels, he just has to finish 7th or better, and he will be crowned the champion. Regardless of what Briar Bauman does. Briar Bauman can check out, win this by half a track. As long as Dallas comes in 7th or better, he will be crowned your 2025 Progressive American Flat Track Mission Super Twins champion. And, he's more than deserving. We have talked about the heartbreak that he experienced last year while leading that championship. And, Dallas and Briar both know they know heartbreak very well. Briar was leading Jared Meese in 2021 there at Charlotte when then that awful crash happened coming out of turn 4 that collected Sammy Halbert. Had Briar won that race, he would have been crowned the champion there. It would have been his 3rd title in a row. For Dallas, we talked about the heartbreak of that broken leg last year while he was leading the championship, and still battled back for a strong end of his season. And Dallas has never finished outside the top 5 this year, which is why it feels like that 7th place is it feels pretty set in stone. Dallas just needs to be smart and bring it home. So yeah, looking at these scenarios, if Briar wins, Dallas needs to finish 7th or better to clinch the championship. If Briar finishes 2nd, well, Dallas just needs to finish 12th. And if Briar finishes 3rd, basically if Briar gets on the podium, provided Dallas doesn't have a mechanical and DNF and finish last place, he'll still be the champion. So he could really just kind of coast at home there if Briar's running 3rd. But both of these guys are going to be coming out swinging and want that victory. I would definitely feel like Dallas is going to push Briar in this race and try to pick up a victory. But if it looks like the risk versus reward isn't there, I could definitely see him settling in and possibly bringing home 2nd or 3rd or what have you. Briar's going to need a lot of help to win this championship. And there's only been 5 riders, including Briar, who have beaten Dallas at all this year. And I'm not looking at, Triple Crown in, main events 1 and 2 or those overalls, just looking at, sort of your standard American Flat Track Twins program. Briar's gotten the better of Dallas 7 times. Brandon Robinson and Davis Fisher have each finished ahead of Dallas twice. And Trent Lowe and Dan Bromley have also gotten the better of Dallas on 1 occasion this year. Trent most recently at Springfield, and Bromley finishing ahead of Dallas after that Sturgis crash where Dallas worked his way back up to 5th. So, yeah, even if every single one of those riders finishes ahead of Dallas, that's still 6th place, and that's enough for a championship run for Dallas Daniels here in 2025. So we'll see how that sort of title fight shakes out. Dallas had a great run at Lake Ozark last year, and given a couple extra laps, might have chased Jared Meese down to get a win there on that night. He was looking really, really good rolling the bottom, and I feel like this track, once again, is going to give us a pretty good show, sort of in between Lucas Oil and Sonoy type feel, a little more banking and one of those clay car tracks, and out there on the lake. So we'll see how that title fight comes to a close. Brandon Robinson, we mentioned he was in the hunt for the 2024 championship and mathematically had a shot at it coming into Ozark, but was a long shot. Nonetheless, he was still up in the front and fighting for that win early on. And you can't count Brandon Robinson out. He's no stranger to winning finales on the American flat track scene. 2020 got it done at Daytona, and 2022 got it done in Volusia, both of those aboard the Indian. And Robinson has picked up a victory there in Sturgis on the short track, so he has gotten an XG on top of the box. He was sort of snake bit there at Lucas Oil. Didn't really get to see what that bike was going to be capable of in a main event there, but this could be a quest for redemption for Brandon. He's got nothing to lose. If he, no matter what he does, he'll finish third in the championship this year. So, hey, go for broke and get a victory, or maybe try to play spoiler for his fellow Harley rider. But can't count Brandon out as he looks to end the season on a high note. And then behind Brandon in the championship, you got Trent Lowe, who vaulted into fourth in points ahead of Davis Fisher and Jared Vanderkoy. Coming into this final round, that sort of mix-up could be really interesting to watch how that all shakes out. Now, Fisher has fared very well on these types of tracks this year. He's picked up a podium out there at Silver Dollar, picked up a podium at Lucas Oil. But Trent Lowe is going to be coming in with a lot of confidence, fresh off of his Springfield Mile win. And Trent finished fourth at Lucas Oil Speedway back in July. So those two guys, the front runners in that battle for fourth. But let's not just push Jared Vanderkoy aside. Jared picked up a podium here last year at Lake Ozark. And while the year on the KTM has not really gone his way, he does have a couple of podiums on the year, one at Peoria and one on a short track out there in California. So let's not count Jared Vanderkoy out of this just yet. He could very well bring the fight to it. Now, what's interesting about Vanderkoy is he is yet to finish ahead of Dallas Daniels this year. So could he possibly sneak up and play a spoiler in this title fight? We'll just have to wait and see how that all shakes out. There's a couple of riders who we also need to not ignore. That being Bronson Bauman. He'll be back on that Mike Butler Racing Yamaha. Declan Bender came home with a sixth place finish at Lake Ozark last year. He's proven to take really kindly to the Yamaha. So if Dallas is able to pull this off and win the championship, he would join teammate Tom Drane, and Tim Estenson would get the season sweep, something that he has been very focused on and worked really hard to achieve. And that would be that'd be cool for that camp. But look, I mean, feelings aside, no matter who you're pulling for that team, with as much as Tim has poured into this sport, they're more than deserving of those championships. And it's been since 1975 that a Yamaha has won the championship in the Premier Twins class for American Flat Track. So 50 years the gap. How about that nice round number? Dallas could be a part of history there if he's able to bring home that championship and be able to join sort of Yamaha's success here in motorsports in the States. Cooper Webb was the Monster Energy Supercross champion. Hayden Deegan won the 250 West class there and was almost unstoppable in outdoor motocross. Looks like he's the front runner to win the Super Motocross Championship there after that whole fiasco in Charlotte. I'd be shocked to see anybody topple Deegan there in that quest for another number one plate in that series. And too early to tell right now, but Bobby Fong does lead the Moto America Superbike Championship, and Matthew Skoltz leads the Moto America Supersport Championship, both of them aboard Yamahas as well. So this could be a massive year for the Yamaha Motor Company as far as racing goes in the United States. And boy, that would be quite the championship ad, having all those faces to carry number one plates into 2026. Got to feel good about the Yamaha platforms. On the single side of things, a lot of stuff pretty set in stone. Tom Drane's got the championship wrapped up. Trevor Bruner's pretty much locked into second place there. Chase Sadoff locked into third. For Tom, though, he does have a couple of milestones he could achieve if he's able to repeat his victory from Lake Ozark last year. If Drane gets the win, it would be his 8th on the season. He would be able to tie the single season wins record set by Dallas Daniels during his championship season in 2020 and Cody Kopp's 2022 championship season. But one thing Tom does have going for him is this average finish of 1.8 is unreal. And we mentioned he's not finished worse than second dating back to June in this class. His worst finish on the season is 4th. And another win by Tom Drane would tie him with Shayna Texter Bauman for second all-time in singles class victories at 19. So he does have that sort of milestone to chase as well. Kind of curious if Tom might make a last-minute decision to hop aboard a twin again and maybe compete in that class. We'll just see how that all shakes out. Or maybe does he skip the singles class? Nah, he's entered in the singles class. He's racing that single. Let me not even stir that up. So But it would be cool to see Tom try to pull double duty once again. There's a rider who's for sure pulling double duty, and that's Dalton Gauthier. He could be a spoiler here. Dalton's run really well on these types of tracks, and we always have said all year long what could have been there in Sonoy between he and Braden Fanders. So Dalton will be looking to shake it up, and Trevor Bruner will be looking for another win for sure. But that battle for fourth in the singles championship as well is pretty spicy. There's 20 points separating 5 riders. It's Cage Tadman, Terrence Santero, Braden Fanders, Aiden Roos Evans, and Jared Lowe. And while Cage is the only of those riders who's seen the top of the box this season, there's a couple other riders who have been up there fighting for podiums, getting podiums, and running inside the top 5. And again, not a whole lot of money up for grabs there as far as championship contingency goes. But hey, it's some bragging rights, and definitely want to finish strong on that single season. I have said a couple of times that I thought Cage is potentially the favorite to win this race, and just put a real stamp on his rookie season already, the rookie of the year. But there's going to be plenty of riders that are going to be looking to take that away from him for sure. And we'll have to see how this sort of fight for fourth in the singles class, how it settles itself, much like the fight for fourth in the twins points. Outside of that 5-way fight for fourth through 8th in the championship, you've got Chad Coase, who's pretty settled into 9th in the standings. I don't see him moving up or down anywhere in the points, but Chad has had a really strong close to his 2025 campaign. We mentioned 3 top 5s in the last 5 races, including a couple of podiums there at Springfield, much like he did in 2024. So Chad going to be looking to put a stamp on his 2025 season. And he was quick time out there in Lucas Oil Speedway in July, another one of those clay car tracks. The main event didn't quite go his way, but this could be a chance at redemption. And who knows, maybe he could steal a few points from some of those guys that are battling his teammate Cage Tadman in that quest for fourth. But it would be cool to see Chad up there mixing it up for a win to put an into 2025 on a high note. And those first impressions bikes, they're good. That is a strong tent to be under. So we'll see how Chad can close out his season. Just outside the top 10, in fact, 7 points adrift of a top 10 in standings is Hunter Bauer. So if he can manage a top 10 there in Lake Ozark, he would surpass Evan Renshaw and get into the top 10 in points to close out his season. So we'll see how the singles class shakes up. Always exciting racing. That late red flag that shook up the order last year and just gave us an absolute just battle royale those last few laps. Kept us on the edge of our seats there in the singles class to end the 2024 season. And I expect more of the same. I expect these guys to get after it on Saturday and give us quite a show. Additionally, on the card, you've got the Bill Train Race Girls back in action, so they'll put a close to their 2025 season there in Lake Ozark as well. This past weekend, there was some good racing going on across the states and up in Canada. Going to start with that Battle at the Border race up in Welland, Ontario. We got to see a couple of guys stateside mix it up with the Canadian riders up there. This was sort of billed as the match point after a Canadian rider had won the first installment. The U.S. rider had won the second. Well, on this night, there would be a tribute to Tyler Seguin, who we lost tragically at Welland, Ontario earlier in the year, and they would host Reed's race. And that race would be won by Justin Jones. He would take the victory in that race on the night and take Tyler's son Reed on a very emotional victory lap up there at the Welland Motorcycle Club on this night. And then as you move into the expert main event, that would be claimed by Loic Nadeau, who is a rider that we've talked a lot about at various points of the season, picking up victories in Canada, winning the Barbara Fritchie Classic. Loic is a very fast young Canadian rider that we need to keep an eye on and see if we get to witness him mix it up here stateside maybe in 2026. Loic got the better of Jack Brooks and Justin Jones. Cool to see Jack up there and come home second. Really strong performance out of him on that first impressions. Backed effort. Jack's their top amateur rider. And again, just so many fast young riders in the pipeline for flat track racing. And there's a really cool article on the website talking about all the rookies who have made an impact this year in American flat track. We've talked about Cage Tadman and then Walker Porter, who glad Walker's okay. He had a really scary crash down the back straight there in Springfield. Got to see a video of that earlier this week. So glad that Walker's doing okay, and we'll have to see how his season comes to a close. Skylar Sintel has put together some strong rides. Ethan Kitchens put together a couple of strong rides. The Ohio Martins, as we call them, Trevor Martin and Caleb Martin making their first main events there in Springfield, as well as Ryder Reese. And we'll talk about Ryder right now, why don't we? Who put together a great night up there in the Lee Thomas Cup up at Square Deal. Ryder able to get the victory in both expert classes on the night. The open expert main event, he would be pretty much unchallenged. Get the lead early and really check out. But Braden Fanders coming back from a first turn crash off the start from the back row, gets all the way up to second in that race after passing Adam Budman Costin Wood late in that encounter. And Braden brings home a second place finish. And Braden was almost able to steal the 450 expert win from Ryder Reese there in Square Deal. Ryder with a mistake coming down the back straightaway, and a big moment there allowed Braden to get by him going into 3 and 4, but Ryder ducks underneath him and is able to make the move coming off of turn 4 there, coming to the line and win that duel to the checkers there. And Ryder Reese getting both victories on the night. It's been cool to see these guys over the past few races there at Square Deals, getting to see Fanders pick up victories and then Budman pick up victories and Ryder Reese as well. Square Deal, like, props to them because they get a stacked field of riders. They get good local support there, and that track always looks awesome. I'm very thankful to Frank from F3 Photos and Videos for filming all the racing there at Square Deals this year, so you can go back and check that out on his YouTube channel and see how Ryder Reese brought home the Lee Thomas Cup. You can also catch Jared Vanderkoy's triumph there last year during this event on Frank's channel. So congrats to Ryder on that victory up in New York. And then we also got to see Cody Michie and Henry Wiles have quite a battle out there in Midland, Michigan. Looked like Henry was riding one of Chase Sadoff's bikes in that race, and he and Cody Michie duking it out there in Midland, and Henry just barely edging Michie. Appreciate Cole Davis for sending me that video. And Michie has just had so many good runs, has really impressed out there on those RPM races at those fairgrounds. Cody is a rider coming up through the amateur ranks that we'll hopefully get to see contest on the pro level here very, very soon. He's sort of been coming up through the ranks with Jack Brooks, and those two riders have been really, really fun to watch there in the Midwest. So hoping to see them down at Mid-Carolina for the Corey Texter Promotions finale. And I guess that's a fair segue to the racing that you'll see later in the year. Corey Texter Promotions finale comes to Mid-Carolina Speedway September 19th and 20th. All those championships will come to a close there on that 2-day weekend in Nice, South Carolina. But before that, this coming weekend, we've been talking earlier about the American Flat Track finale at Lake Ozark Speedway. But look at all this other stuff that we have going on throughout the weekend. The Flat Track Canada finale up there at Georgian Downs in Ontario. You've also got RPM Promotions in Circleville, Ohio. Our friends with Southeast Flat Track, they'll be at Coal Ridge Speedway this weekend, little go-kart track up in Ramseur, North Carolina. And that event is actually going to be live streamed on sportsaction.tv. If you're able to purchase a pay-per-view there, it's actually a monthly pass for $24.99. You can watch some karting events as well as catch the racing that happens at Coal Ridge. So if you're able to support that cause, please do so. Obviously, if you're able to make it to the track, that needs to be priority number one. But if you're not and want to check the streaming out, that is available for this event, and this will be cool to sort of catch up on. And as we prepare to go back to Mid-Carolina in October for the Southeast Flat Track finale. So we'll have to follow along with that racing as well. Outside of sort of the flat track scene, well, in and out sort of. Outside of the States, but still in the flat track scene, you've got the FIM Flat Track Series, Round 5. They've got back-to-back weekends to see their championship comes to a close. They'll be in Hungary this weekend. And then Speedway Grand Prix comes to a close as well this weekend. They will be up in Denmark for the finale of that series. Brady Kurtz versus Bartosz Marzlik. That championship comes down to the finale there, so we'll have to follow along with that. And additionally, our Friends in Talent Cup there in Moto America, all the flat trackers who have been putting on a show at that in that sport, they will be contesting with Moto America there in Austin, Texas at COTA. So there is a ton of racing going on this weekend, and we'll try our best to recap it all next week. And that is, like we said, it's going to be a long-winded episode next week, trying to cover everything that happens over the weekend. I'll have pages and pages and notes, and I'll probably lose my voice going through all that. But yeah, folks, if you can get out to the racetrack, please do so. Please support this sport, these promoters, and everybody that's involved. Please support the riders in any way that you can. Please support the people who are making content around flat track racing, whether it's a podcast, YouTube channel, Instagram stuff. Really appreciate the All Things Flat Track channel that's popped up here on Instagram. That's a fun follow. Check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, that's going to bring it close to this week. We're going to do our best, like we said, to talk about everything next week and see how all these championships unfold and see what else shakes up in other areas of the sport as we bring it close to the 2025 Progressive American Flat Track season. Just thank you guys for following along, and yeah, enjoy the racing this week. And we'll check on with you guys next week. And as always, it takes me forever to wrap up these videos, so I'm just going to have to force myself to call it right here. Love you guys. Take care.